Welcome to the video demo series for Configure.IT. Unleash the hassle-free way to build bug-free mobile apps in the quickest possible turnaround time. So in this video, I want to go ahead and show you how to configure the tab bar for your mobile applications. So the way we do that is we start off by coming over here to tab bar settings, and we'll click there, and we want to enable the tab. So now we can go ahead and start configuring our tab bar. The first thing we want to do is go ahead and select a background image. So as you can see, I've gone ahead and uploaded all of our assets. So right here is our tab bar background. We'll select that. Now the total tabs, in this case we want to go ahead and do 4 tabs. The default tab selected, and this is going to be which tab, when it's shown, which tab is automatically selected. So we'll leave it as the first tab. The badge background, so the badge background is when a badge is shown, then what color do you want it to be? So in this case, we're going to go ahead and choose a red, which is pretty standard for iOS. And the badge text color, we're going to go ahead and choose white. And for the tab 1 setting is where we select our images. So for our first image, we want to go ahead and do the home. As you can see here, it says tab hover image and tab normal image. The tab normal image is by default is the unselected, and the tab hover image is the image that you will use when you do select it. The load screen, instead of table, we're going to go ahead and choose video player. Tab 2 setting, we'll choose help, and then we'll choose the normal one. And we'll choose picker. Tab 3, we'll go ahead and configure this one. We'll choose the hover is kids, and the normal one as well. Then the screen, we'll do table, and the tab 4, we'll select the hover, which will be settings. Now I want to point something out real fast. As you can see, this image name in all of the images for hover, you can see is image underscore settings and then underscore H. This is really important for you to remember that when you're doing the tab bar images for the hover image, make sure you append that underscore H to whatever name you want to name it. But that's specific for the hover images, and that's very important, as we'll see in just a bit. So we'll select the hover image, and then we'll go back and select the normal image, and then select our screen, which we'll do is payments. All right, so now we have our tab configured. We'll go ahead and click save. So the next thing to point out is when you're designing your screen that you want to click on main view, and you want to search for a property called tab hosting and select that. And what that does is that puts the tab bar on your screen so that when you're designing, you can design with the tab bar on the screen. Otherwise, if you don't have tab hosting checked, you're going to design your screen all the way to the bottom, and then in your app, the tab bar will actually overlay part of your screen real estate. So you want to make sure that when you're using tabs to have that tab hosting checked so that you can design to the proper dimensions. Now that we have the tab bar configured, the next thing we need to do is have it load when the app is open. And the way we do that is we come up here to miscellaneous settings, come down to default page, and we need to set the default page to the tab bar. And what this does is it will open, and whatever this default tab is the page that will open. So now that we have it configured, let's go ahead and take a look at it in the app. Okay, so you can see that we have the tab bar loaded at the bottom. We have our home. We can go to different tabs. And again, as you notice that this is for 4 tabs, typically you can go up to 5 tabs. The size of the icons will vary just a bit, and we'll take a look at that in just a minute. So as you can see, the tab bar is working perfectly. So let's go through a couple of other configurations. Now that we're back in our configure platform, let's go ahead and take a look at the assets that we used. Well, let's go ahead and take a look at this PNG file right here, and we'll take a look at the sizes. By default, the base iOS size is an 80 by 49, and then it jumps up to 160 by 98, and then the 3X is 240 by 147. Then we look over at the Android, and it's 80 by 49, 120 by 74, 160 by 98, and then 240 by 147. And again, this is for 4 tabs. So if you have 5 tabs, they'll be a little bit smaller. If you have 3 tabs, it'll be a little bit bigger. So you just need to make that adjustment. Now, the last thing I want to talk about is some of the actions that we can use for the tab bar. So what we're going to do is we're going to just add a button. Now let's take a look at some of the actions that we have. Let's select click. We'll click on actions defined, type in tab, and then we see that we have some tab bar properties that we can change. Now the first tab bar property is to change the badge. So this is the badge icon that can appear next to a text. So the tab index is which tab do you want the badge to appear on. Now this is an index, so for the first tab the index would actually be 0 because indexes start with 0. So if you want it on the first tab it would be 0, if you want it on the second tab it would be 1, so forth and so on. So let's go ahead and change this to be on the third tab, which would be tab index 2. And we're going to do the badge count, we're going to add as a 1. So we'll select save. And let's see how that looks in the app. So you see we have our button there. So if I hit this, we should see the badge. So there you go. There's our badge. Now let's go in and configure a different action. So we'll go back to click. And we're going to, instead of doing a change badge, we're going to change index. And what this will do is it will change which tab we're on. So we'll, instead of being on the index of 0, we'll go to 2. So we'll click save. And now we should change tabs. There you go. Now we change to the third tab, which is the second index. So we'll click back on home and we'll look at the additional actions. The next thing is we can change the root view controller. So the root view controller is the screen that is shown when that tab is selected. So again, we'll stick with tab index 2, which is the third tab, and we'll go and choose payments. We'll click save. So now if we select the button, it didn't do anything, but if we click on the third tab, you can see that it's no longer the map, but it is our payment demo. So that was changing the root view controller. Now let's go and take a look at the next action. Now the next action is pop root view controller. So what the pop root view controller does is it takes you back to the initial page. So when you're on a tab and have additional buttons or links to additional pages within that tab will still stay highlighted. So for example, if you're on the tab that had the payment demo and you had additional pages, say you went 4 or 5 pages deep, you were still on that tab, what the pop root view controller will do is it will take you back to that first page that you would normally get to when you first enter a tab. Now the last one is the change tab image. And the change tab image does what it says it does. It changes the image of that tab. Now remember earlier when we were talking about pinning that _H, that's where this comes in very handy. Now let me show you. Now if we go back to our asset manager and we want to change that third image to settings, and if we click here on the normal image, which is the image that we want, so we want to copy that name, the img_settings.png. Now that we have that copied, we can come over here and click on click and change tab image, and we're going to do index 2 or the third tab. The tab image we can leave it static, and we're just going to paste that value right here. So it's going to be img_settings.png, and you always want the normal image name, because what will happen is because we've added that _H, the platform automatically knows that that _H image is the hover image. So if we click on save, now let's refresh. Now you can see down there at the bottom it has the kids. If we hit the button, it has changed it to the settings. Now if we click on settings, you can see that it's automatically brought in the hover settings image. And that's how we configure the tab bar. Want to learn more? Visit our Help Center for additional tutorials, our Support Center, and our online community, where our support team will assist you. Keep configuring.